So I was opening up my email a couple weeks ago, and we get a lot of emails that come into our company that are just kind of spam, but for businesses, business spam. And I got that one, and it was saying, hey, we have this app for learning biblical languages. Would you be interested in taking a look at it for your customers at Homeschooling Torah? And my first response was, this is just spam. And then something made me pause, and I was like, an app for learning biblical languages. That does intrigue me. So I clicked it, and I really don't usually do this. I'm usually really busy when I'm answering emails. Okay, so I got there, and the first thing that caught my eye was that they had Hebrew, because most of the times when they're talking about biblical languages, it's meant for Christians and they only have Greek, or that's their emphasis. And this company also does have Greek, but they also had Hebrew. And the other thing that caught my eye was that the Hebrew had vowel points. Yeah, so vowel points are really important to me because as we teach phonics to children, and I'm talking about English phonics here, we really emphasize learning how to read by syllable. So I'm trying to think of an English word that has two syllables. How about shofar? So in the word shofar, you've got two syllables. So shofar, I put my finger under my chin. That's how I teach my kids how to know. It goes up and down twice. Shofar, two syllables. So the first one is an open syllable, show, and the O at the end of it says its name. It says O because it's at the end of a syllable, but then we have far, and in that one the sounds are a little different because there's a consonant on both sides of the vowel. Anyway, it's true in English, but it's also true in Hebrew. Hebrew has open and closed syllables, and one of the things that we try to emphasize with our homeschooling to our customers is how to help their children learn to read open and closed syllables in Hebrew or English. And when I saw that BibLingo had the vowel points, I thought, we have somebody who is teaching them how to read it with the vowel points. That means they could read their Hebrew Bible. They could read the Tanakh. And yes, I know if they traveled over to Israel today, most of the words don't use vowel points. They just have consonants. Why is that? Okay, well, that's because it's really, well, this is my theory. I could be wrong, but it's a royal pain to type with vowels. And we'll teach our customers how to do that as they get further into the Hebrew language. But it's just really difficult. And I'm imagining the common everyday business owner over in Israel as they're making signs for their shop. Really don't want to have to do all of that. It's just so much easier to type with just consonants. Yeah, right. So when you learn Hebrew from a lot of companies, they just teach it to you with just the consonants, like it would be if you traveled. Oh, why don't, well, I don't like that because it's like a sight word, and I'm opposed to sight words. Sight words are where you memorize the shape of how an entire word looks, and you have to memorize every word's shape across an entire language, and that just seems like an inefficient use of time and energy when you could just be sounding out the consonants and the vowels and then applying that to many different Hebrew words, and now you can read anything that you come across. And the cool thing in Hebrew also is that different letters, consonants have meaning as well. So you can somewhat begin to learn how the language works, how the verbs work, and so on. But if you just learn sight words, you're not going to get all of that richness and beauty, and you're not going to be able to tackle any word that you come across and read it. And yeah, that's really important to me. Yeah, there are many thousands of words in Hebrew that you need to learn, of course. We said, well, let me back up. Let me tell a little bit more about how we met the company. So I reached out to them. I said, yes, I am interested. And they said, well, here, can you get on the phone with me next week? I'm thinking, oh, this is going to be a sales call. I'm not going to like this. But when I got on the phone with their director of homeschooling the next week, he was awesome. He had been a professor of Hebrew studies, Jewish studies, I'm sorry, and he had young children himself and loves homeschooling. And then I found out that he had really looked into Homeschooling Torah and he knew a lot about us. And that really excited me because I'm like, this is a real company with real people that homeschool and love Yeshua and love the Torah, and they love what they do, and they know what they're doing. So then I said, I really am interested. We started to talk numbers. How could we make this affordable for our Homeschooling Torah members so that they wouldn't have to pay the full price of getting a BibLingo app for their kids? Meanwhile, he hooked me up so I could log in and start seeing what it was like myself and using it as if I were a Homeschooling Torah customer. So I did that. I'll come back to that in a minute. The next week, I met with the owner, the CEO of the company, as well as a few other guys on the team. And the owner went to Hebrew University in Jerusalem, has his PhD in Hebrew. So Hebrew is his love. And he's the one who asked me, he said, how many vocabulary words do you have in your Hebrew word power? And I said, well, we're planning to teach our students 1,000 vocabulary words that they can learn through 8th grade. And he goes, oh, you have set that bar way too low. My 5-year-old can read 500 biblical vocabulary words. And I went, oh, okay, cool. And he thinks that we should really up the ante and we could well educate our Homeschooling Torah students so that when they have gone through BibLingo and studied with us at Homeschooling Torah, they can really read everything that is in the Hebrew Bible. And if they wanted to, they could go on and learn everything in Greek as well. And they can translate it. They can communicate in words and writing and reading. They know their grammar. In other words, they're learning on an MDiv, a master's degree level, but in high school or younger. If they want to, there's nothing holding them back. And by the way, the parents can learn it too. And I am so excited about launching a generation of students who can read the Bible in its original languages, know what it says, speak it, read it, write it, copy it, and be students of the word on the level of seminary students. I think this is amazing, and I'm so excited. So yeah, when I logged into the app before my meeting with the CEO and the team, I pretended I was starting at the very beginning. I said, I don't know Hebrew at all. I want to start as if I don't even know the Aleph Bet. So I logged in, I pretended, and I loved the way that it taught. It has people acting out. They've gotten actors. They're dressed in biblical costume and they are acting out the words. And that's really important. And here's why. Hebrew is a language based on action. It's not like the Greek language or even our English language that's more centered on philosophy and thought, but it's an action-oriented language. In fact, you learn your verbs first, and nouns are made from verbs. Verbs are actions. So you do things in the Hebrew language. Our Heavenly Father is a creator who does. He is productive. That's what the word tov means in Hebrew. It means to be productive. And so when the children or parents or whoever's using this BibLingo app sees the action and they watch the actors do it, and then they hear what it's supposed to sound like, and then they practice the flashcards and they learn to read it, to speak it, to say it, the seeing it with those actors performing the actions really makes it come alive, and I believe will help them really learn the language in a way that you would never be able to do from just a book that we're producing at Homeschooling Torah. Yeah, okay, so there was another thing I loved about them. They only use the Bible to teach Hebrew and Greek. Did you catch that? Because that's really important to me. One of our taglines at Homeschooling Torah is use the Bible as your primary textbook. And whoa, we found an app that teaches Hebrew and Greek using only the Bible. But you can also learn to speak it in modern Sephardic pronunciation, which is the style that we do use at Homeschooling Torah. And why do we use that? Because that's what's in Jerusalem, the city that Yah has his eye on and loves, and the land of Israel. And that's really important to me too. So another really cool feature as I was using the app and getting to see behind the scenes is that there is a community that's thriving at BibLingo, and they have a forum. You can go in there and ask your questions and say, okay, so explain to me why this is this. I don't know, and I'm not a Hebrew speaker, and they will answer your questions. These are people with PhDs and understand how to use Hebrew because they have been around the block and they know how to do it, and so they answer their questions, which that has always been a little intimidating to me as we write curriculum. I'm not a Hebrew speaker. I don't have a PhD in Hebrew. I'm just learning along with all the other parents. I'm a homeschool mom on the journey, just like every other homeschool mom. But to be able to take our questions to people that have the answers and know that we'll get responses, they even have office hours where you can go in and you can get on video with other people. It's a really cool community, and I love that we can get our questions answered and be tutored by real live people. Another cool thing is that as part of the Homeschooling Torah group of people that are going to be using the app, I'll be able to see our students' progress, and I'll be able to reward them and say, hey, Joe in Arkansas, you did a great job this week. I'm so proud of you for working on getting this many lessons done. You did so awesome. Hey guys, who's going to be our winner next week? And I know that's silly, but it's just something that I thought was fun. In other words, at Homeschooling Torah, we can be a team and be excited and cheering each other on as we learn a language that is difficult. It is not, doesn't come super easy for those of us that didn't grow up in a house speaking Hebrew. And I just think it's pretty awesome that we can be a community cheering each other on. And that's just yet another feature of this app. Okay, so that is a question I've been receiving by email since we announced this. How much does it cost? Is this one price for my whole family, or is it per user, per child, or per parent? And it is a little different than how we do it at Homeschooling Torah. This is something we talked about with the whole team as we were trying to figure out how to make this work. And I said, you know what? Our Homeschooling Torah members pay, per month or per year, and they get everything they need for their entire family. But over at BibLingo, the way that their software is set up, and they don't have a way to change this just for us, their software is set up, it's per user. And it kind of makes sense because each user needs to be able to track their progress through the Hebrew language. You could have a fourth grader, a second grader, a kindergartner. In fact, they go from preschool all the way up through college level. So everyone in your family can use this app. We would see students moving at different paces through it. You know what I mean? Like this guy was saying his 5-year-old knows 500 words. Well, he would be moving faster than some of the others, right? So they do have it. So each individual user or student or parent has their own email address, and that's what they use to log in. And the parents, however, can monitor all of their children. So they have them on one plan, and you as a parent can see how each of your kids are doing. And I do encourage parents to get their own account as well and be doing this along with their kids. You don't want your kids to be smarter than you. You want to read the Bible in its primary language as well. But so yes, it is per user. The first user is the highest price, but they have given us a phenomenal discount. You will not be able to find this discount anywhere else. And then every user after that gets it even cheaper. And when I was on the phone with the CEO, he wanted to mention that they have a lifetime access plan that it comes out to be a fantastic price. If you know that you love the Hebrew language and you want to see this through to completion, I do recommend you get the lifetime plan. It saves you the most money, but maybe you want to try it out for a few months and see how it works, and then switch over to the lifetime. That would work as well. But it's lifetime truly means what it says. Once you pay that, you don't ever have to pay again, and you don't have to worry about price increases or anything like that. So that's something to look out for. Again, he's given us a 55% discount on the lifetime membership plans, and I'm just so thankful to these guys for their love of homeschooling, their love of Hebrew, their love of scripture, and their willingness to help us at Little Homeschooling Torah. Just really a blessing. Yeah, so that's the last key point, the thing I'm also very excited about. We are integrating BibLingo words vocabulary and grammar into our word power. So our Hebrew word power and our word power from, and we're still having to tweak this a little bit, but at this point, I'm going to say for sure from 4th grade up, but also I'm going to try to go back and integrate it into levels 2nd grade and 3rd grade word power, so that you can be learning the same things on the app that you're learning with Homeschooling Torah. And like the guy said, he doesn't think that 1,000 words is a good standard. He wants it higher. So we're going to have to rework some of our lessons to make that standard higher. But it's really nice to have an app that you can have on your device and have it reviewing, put the flashcards in. They're already there for you, and you can be using that to reinforce everything that you're learning at Homeschooling Torah in the Word Power curriculum, and frankly across science as well, because we have a lot of Hebrew in our science curriculum. Is it required? No, it is not required. We have said from the beginning, the only thing that is required in addition to a Homeschooling Torah membership is the extra books you need for history curriculum. And even there, we've tried to keep the required books to a minimum because we know budgets are tight. But if you have the money, if you can forego, some coffee, some extra little treats every month to make this work, I highly recommend investing in your children to make this happen. I think it's really valuable, and I'm so excited to be using it with my family as well.